Good morning, all, or happy lunchtime for my friends in South Downs and the rest of you living in the future. And welcome to Kalbardr's Corner for this week's Coffee with Cal. I am Lord Kalbardr Geiler, Companion of the Meridian Cross, Companion of the Argent Comet, Companion of the Argent Lamp, Companion of the Falcon's Faith, and Reaper, coming to you live, as always, from the Barony of the Osprey on the southern coast of Meridies. And for this episode, I am joined by a new friend of mine, actually. We've sort of met by chance, and I'm just delighted to have him on. This is Lash Kensei of the Black Company, or Master Lash if you're feeling less fancy. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning. I am awake.
Barely, right?
You got to be special to get me up in the morning.
Right. It is a fair bit earlier for you West Coast folks when I have you on, so I appreciate you being here. Why don't you give us a little background, a little about who you are?
Well, I'm a Master at Arms for in the West Kingdom. And I'm the elder of a tribe of our house, Black Company. We're a mercenary household, and we have 6 tribes in 6 different kingdoms, 7 if you count stragglers.
Right.
I've been in the SCA for about 33 years. I started in early mid 80s. Took a little bit of a break of it in the 90s, but have been active ever since. And I just love our game. I absolutely love it.
Nice. Yeah, that's it definitely shows, and that's one of the things that I was excited when Logan introduced me. Baron Logan Path Forward and Fast Nights introduced us, and that's the first thing I noticed about you was just your general excitement for the SCA, and that's something that I think we need more of. So I'm excited to have this conversation today and really sort of get into our topic. But before we do that, we have a little bit of business to handle. So today's show is coffee themed.
Coffee.
This was supposed to be an officially sponsored show, my first officially sponsored coffee show. But unfortunately, the coffee that was coming will not be here till tomorrow. But we will still give a shout out to, because I think you are still drinking his coffee. So let me bring the banner up here. So Captain Murphy 66, or Captain Murphy for those in the SCA, is a roaster out of the West Kingdom. And I'm super excited. He reached out through Lash and was like, man, I want to send you some coffee. I was like, heck yeah, man. Like, this is the best. So, but unfortunately,
free coffee is like free beer, man.
Exactly. There's no such thing as bad free coffee. So Lash, I think you're more familiar with him. Give us a little background on Captain Murphy and his sort of brewing.
He's a fantastic guy. He's out of our barony and the barony of Rivenoak, and he does all of his own stuff. He does all of his own roasting, everything. He imports. He has his own place where he imports his coffee beans. He imports them fresh. And he has a whole line of different types of coffee. The stuff that I like is I call it his local brand, because on his website you'll see you can only go local. And I just spaced the name of it.
It's his signature blend.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Signature blend. Yeah.
His signature blend. Is he sending that to you?
He is.
Oh,
I'm special. Apparently, I do the secret order to ask to get the right blend. Yeah.
Yeah. The main reason why that is because it is difficult for him to do. It's a hard one. But it's kind of funny when you talk about coffee, because I had no idea about coffee up until about 10 years ago. Seriously, I drank Folgers out of a can, and that was it. I just dump a bunch of it into a coffee maker, and that was coffee to me.
Purely a caffeine source at that point. It's not at all, right?
Yeah, and then I went to an SCA event, and I went to Great Western War out here 10 years ago, and the people that were hosting us, Dragon Watch, they had these things called French presses. Mm-hmm. And they had a grinder, and they ground everything right there, threw everything into a French press, and I was like, what have I been doing?
So I will admit I did have to go buy a coffee grinder the other day, because I have never actually ground my own coffee. So this will be a first for me even. So I'm excited to experience that. I'm sure I've had like fresh ground like at a coffee shop before, but I've never ground it myself. So I'm excited. So in honor of the sort of the West Coast theme, at least, I'm drinking Pete's coffee today. This is recommended by her Highness Sarah. This is the Major Dickinson's blend. So I figured I'd at least keep it least on theme a little bit for us. So, of
Yeah,
course,
and
Feed the Ravens mug.
coffee is really good, really, and they're kind of like similar to Starbucks, but much better. So you could go find Pete's Coffee all over California. But the my go-to for like just every day is San Francisco blend hazelnut.
Oh, there you go.
That's, I grind it. I'll grind up enough for my week, and then I use a coffee maker because, well, I have to, and because I got to go to work in the morning. Right. And you can put a timer on a
can't put it on a French press, unfortunately.
Yeah, you can put a timer on a coffee pot, but you can't on a French press.
So I think that's actually so talking about Captain Murphy and some things you told me about him is a great segue into our topic for the day. So the topic of Fringies, right? This was something that was new to me or foreign to me, being from Meridies, and I first learned about it on Between Two Peers. Helga and Tulia talked about it a lot, and I mean I understood it immediately. I got what they were talking about and immediately recognized it as from Meridies, right? It's a
label that you didn't know, basically.
Right. It was just a label I'd never heard before. And like I said, it makes sense of somebody being on the Fringies, but what from you, since this is more of a very of a West Coast label, what is your definition of Fringy? And you can either go with an older definition or the current one, whichever you like. Let's start there. Well, what's the definition of that?
Well, there's like I have been a Fringy all my time that I've been in the SCA. A Fringy is a person who's on the outside. Right. They're of everything. They're whether by choice or by action or by somebody else's device, they're on the outside of things. They're not with what we call the cool club. And there's people that camp on the outside of events and really either feel that they don't have a place or just don't know where their place is or what to do at events. You've seen them, people kind of wandering around, kind of starry-eyed, not knowing what's going on or where they should go or what they should do. And then, I actually did a class about this at a collegium about what Fringies were, and it was called Approaching the Fringe. How to talk to people and engage people that are just sometimes they're just lost, because it might be their first event. Right. And they don't have any idea. So the Fringy is a person who doesn't play mainstream kingdom stuff, so they're not up in front. They're not in court. They don't do all the court stuff. We have some that had just never done it before, have never been around it before. We have others, there's the newbies, Fringies. And then we have what's called the Jades. We call them the Jades. Jades are the people that are jaded because they've been treated poorly through actions of their own. I'm not saying that they're innocent, but through actions of their own or somebody else's, they've had a really bad experience. And we all know that one bad experience will outweigh 10 nice ones. Right. Because that's what you remember is the bad ones. So those are the people who finally end up quitting, and that's why and there for a while, the term Fringy was a negative term. Right. They're just Fringies. They're they don't matter. They're just Fringies or whatever. Well, like a lot of things, we embraced it and made it our own and made it to where Fringy wasn't a bad thing. Right. And we kind of walk to our own drum, and we do our own things, and we act our own, the way that we want to do, and we do the things that just have fun. That's all we want to do. We just want to go have fun. We don't want it to be serious. We don't want it to be, we just want everybody around us to have fun. And that's kind of what, how the house that I belong to, Black Company, is how it was formed. We were formed from a lot of jaded people. Right. I was jaded for years. I mean, I had horrible experiences when I first started. For the first 10 years, I had horrible experiences. And I just, after a while, I was either I quit and just say, I'm done with this, go do something else. Which I was this close to just saying, I'm out, I'm done. I actually went to an event to sell all my armor, sell all my stuff, and just so I could just walk away, dust your hands, walk away, I'm done, kind of thing. And one person reached out to me and told me, don't let the shitters of the world win.
Right.
And that stuck to me in my head for a long time because it's actually a quote from a Stephen King book, from Christine, the book Christine. That guy said, "Don't let the shitters of the world win."
Yeah, there are a couple of similar quotes. I carry the illegitimate non carborundum, which is don't let the battle down. It's the same sort of concept. Actually, that's a tattooed on my leg. It's something my dad carried. Something sort of the don't let the shitty people in the world affect your fun. And I think that's an important thing to remember in the SCA in general. Whether you're talking Fringies or those hardcore insiders, right? I think that's a thing you should remember. So I want to sort of break apart some of the things you just talked about, because there's a lot of little bits in there that I really want to dive into. So when you're looking at the concept of Fringy, my immediate reaction is outsiders versus insiders, right? That to me is always a negative. There's never a good version of outsiders versus insiders, because even if the outsiders are there because they want to be there, there's always still a division, right?
Yeah,
always still a lesser. They're a lesser population. They're an outcast. They're the ghetto. They're the we look at it in urban environments, like in our cities. You have the city proper that has all the fancy lights and the fancy this and that, and then you have the housing projects and the ghetto. It's the less tax base and the less money, right?
You are right on the money. Right. We've been called the ghettos before, right. Just because a lot of the people that are with us don't have a lot of money.
Right.
So they're in their Walmart, what we call prairie pimples, the little Walmart tents, and they don't have very much money for garb or for armor, and they have all of our armor was thrown together and just whatever we could get in. And you are absolutely right, because we've been called the ghetto.
Right.
They're out there over with the fringy ghetto, and it's absolutely right. And the division is unfortunately systemic.
Right. Oh, it is. It always is. That's always a systemic division, because and it's like there's a fine line, because I'm thinking about that, going, okay, how can we fix this? Because this conversation is coming up a lot recently, specifically with the disparity, right? Because our numbers are going down, so we've got to deal with that. But also, just like we're trying to be more inclusive, and we talk about DEI topics. We talk about race. We talk about religion. We talk about sort of social things. The economic part often gets forgot about. The economic disparity and diversity is also important, right? And so a lot of this, okay, the Fringies are an economically diverse group, right? So it's been talked about how do we deal with that? Because you mentioned the idea of they've got the Walmart tents, and they've got the less good garb, and they've got the less pretty things, right? So it's like, I know at an event, there's been events I've been to where all the big pretty pavilions get set up, and then all the Walmart tents go behind them, right?
Right.
But it's because you're trying to create that medieval moment, and you can't do that with a Walmart tent in the middle of your camp, right? So you try to at least create some sort of barrier, which, on paper that makes sense. Sure, I like that. I like having that. Oh, it's so pretty up front, but then you don't want to be that shitty guy that's in the back 40 behind it.
And then be the guy that has to go in there and ask, hey, where do I set up? And they say, well, what kind of tent do you have?
Right.
Well, I got a Walmart tent. Oh, you got to go set up over there.
Right.
In the corner, in the back corner. And like in our group, Black Company, we're a mercenary household. So we've collected the people that are disenfranchised. They come into our camp, and they're like, whoa, where did this come from? Because anybody that comes into our camp will immediately, it's like a warm blanket, because we take care of you. We curry comb you, feed you grapes, and we have I invite people from all over the world to come stay with us and hang out with us. And then people hang out with us and they just stay, because we don't care about, where you're from, who you are, and we don't care about any of that stuff. As long as you're a good person and you're fun to hang out with, and we get along, that's all we care about, and everybody should be that way. it's very weird to sit here and listen to a mercenary talk about being an ambassador to the SCA.
Right.
I've had bunches of people going, wait, what? You're just a mercenary. Yeah, I'm a mercenary. I get paid to fight, and we get paid in beer and booze and bacon and cookies and
beer, booze, and bacon, all the favorite bees.
Beer,
right?
booze, and bacon, yeah. And that's the shtick.
Right.
Right? It's the shtick. At our core and our heart, we're a family.
Right.
And we have a deeply embedded love for the SCA because the SCA got us together. Right. Because without it, we wouldn't be who we are.
Right.
We wouldn't be this mercenary group, you know?
Well, it's essentially because realistically, the Black Company or the Two Chucks or the House Nova or pick your band, right? Could all function outside the SCA, and a lot of them do, right? The Two Chucks are not an SCA group; they're a whole separate organization. They just show up to SCA stuff occasionally, right?
And look at what's going on with the Two Chucks. The Two Chucks, they get so much bad rap. A lot of it's earned because they earned it because
they're crazy people. But that's beside the point entirely.
And they're awesome. I love them. Because they blow their own horn, they do their own thing, and they just don't give a fuck.
Right.
They just don't care. Now, some of them wear that like a badge.
Right.
Which, to be honest with you, I did when I was in, up until about, I'm going to say 2000, 2003-ish, I had a huge chip on my shoulder. I was so sick and tired of being treated bad by what we call hats and belts.
Right.
Right. You might hear the term Tatanka. In the mercenary scope, we call hats and belts. We call them Tatanka, which is Sioux for buffalo, right? Because the pointy hat.
It's similar to using like the term like gage. It's the fighters, the other. Yeah, that was your term for those people. Yeah. Yeah,
and that's a good term too. Those people.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because that goes both ways.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, and so for years I had a chip on my shoulder. Fuck those guys because I've been treated horrible.
Right.
I mean, you seriously would not believe some of the things that happened to me. One, being a Japanese persona in the beginning of the 90s.
Right.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of those stories, and because we have a few Japanese personas still active, and so even some of them have, even now, 10 years later, 20 years later, are still getting the same kind of crap because it's weird. It's off. It's not the centralized thing. And again, that's very much on the Fringies topic. Is it's not the middle of the road discussion. I think
it's not the accepted thing,
right? And I'm hoping that our last year and the next year is going to change a lot of at least those mentalities. I'm not saying we're going to fix the Fringy concept, but I think a lot of the sort of things that are outside of this central box are starting to be more accepted, and I'm hoping that fixes some of the others. Like they start bleeding over into we're more of a family than collectively than we have been previously.
Yeah. And a lot of the reason why I think a lot of these things are changing is the old guard are going away.
Right.
And the younger people that are coming up, I can't think of a better term. I hate the term woke. I really don't like that term.
Right.
But it's kind of fitting. They're more, they're the younger people that are coming up are more aware. They're more aware of what's going on and all the things that are going on, and things that are getting addressed that have never been addressed before, and they're just, and these younger kids are just coming out and hammering it. And right. These old guard aren't used to having these young kids up in their grill.
Right.
Up in their face because you need to show respect. You need to be only be heard when you're asked questions. Be silent, whatever. Yeah, and these kids nowadays, they're like, "Fuck you, no, I'm not doing that." 20 to 30s right now, they're like, "Up yours. We're gonna do what we want. If you don't like it, kick rocks, go somewhere else." And I love it, even if it's directed at me.
Right.
I respect it.
Sometimes you have to do it. So I live in a weird place on that specific topic. So I'm very much that mentality. I'm like, okay, if you don't want me to fix this, or I can't, if I can't be happy within the game, I'll just make my own game. Which is, I mean, I literally started a whole YouTube channel for that sort of topic. I was like, I'm going to do this thing over here, and because I can't play within your rules, doing like social media stuff. So I'm going to go over here and do this, and y'all can hang out if you want to, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes that's a sort of a useful mentality to have. I think there's a fine line of doing that in a supportive manner and doing that in a destructive manner, right? Because there's a way to do that super destructively. That you're just like, I'm going to do my own thing over here, and I don't give a crap what y'all do, right? But then there's also I'm going to do this over here because I feel it's the best way to help this, even though your rules won't allow it right now, right?
And while you're over here, we have a rule in Black Company. We have a rule. If you're going to complain about somebody in the SCA, if you're going to complain about anybody, take their job and do it better. You take their job.
Right.
You can't. If you're going to complain about a marshal at an event, you go out. You go drop your armor, go over there, grab a stick, get out there, marshal next to that guy, and show him how it's done.
Right.
Or like we have in Black Company alone, we have web ministers. We have two. We have a baron and baroness. We have my squire, soon to be Baron of Starcothing. We have a Chatelaine. We have I'm the deputy exchequer for our barony. A drop dead for our barony. I'm the principality marshal for the Principality of Sinagua. I'm the West Kingdom Thrown Weapons marshal.
Right.
So.
Okay, so that creates a giant break in my brain. So you're saying you're a mercenary and you're the mercenary household and you're over here doing your own thing, but also you just described literally all the insiders. Like you're embedded in the game. How does that separation work for you? How do you sort of live in both those worlds where you have to follow as an exchequer, right? Let's try that's a super that's a position I don't want. My wife is our current baronial exchequer, and I'm like,
crazy, isn't it?
I don't even look at those books when she gets them. I don't want to because I know that and seneschal and minister of children are three things you can go to jail for in the SCA, right? If you screw up. So there are so many rules to that. How do you maintain your balance of being a Fringy and doing your own thing and sort of playing your own game, but also following the rules?
Because the SCA is split up into two things.
Okay.
Administration and play.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Right. So the administration part of it is the people who do all the work. The exchequers, the seneschals, that's all technically business.
The legal side, right?
Yeah, it's business. It's legal business. So that part of it, I don't even really count it as SCA myself. I count it as just supporting something that we want to do.
It's the paperwork to be able to have fun later.
Yeah, exactly. And we do it because, like I said, if we don't like the way something's being done, we do it. Now, in my case of the being the marshal for Principality of Sinagua, the original marshal moved, and we're in the middle of a pandemic. So, in the middle of this thing, he had to go, and so I just automatically jumped in and just said, "Okay, well, I'll help, I'll do it until we start up again, and then I'll pass it on." But somebody had to do the report. Somebody had to, even though there isn't any for a marshal during a pandemic. Somebody still has to do it.
Still reports. The paperwork never stops, folks. Yeah.
Right. So, so that was an easy thing for me because I love this game.
Right.
And on the SCA side of it, how can I tell my tribe members, because I'm an elder of a tribe, the Kurkaze tribe, how can I tell them, if you don't like something, fix it, do the work. We require, if you go to an event, and you're camping at an event, you're required to do at least 3 hours of service at that event.
Right.
In our group, you're required, no matter what it is, whether it's constable or whatever. You got to go out and you volunteer your time, because for so many years, a lot of us, we just went to events and fought.
Right.
We fought, we partied, did all the things, complained about stuff going on at events. Complained about privies, complained about. The way the arts and science was set up, we just went there and complained. We didn't help. We didn't do anything except go to the events and not give a shit about who actually did the events. Well, that all changed when Black Company formed because we went to an event And through a horrible action, some really bad things happened. And we finally decided then, all right, we got to do something about this, and we got to do it now. So we confronted the establishment right then and there and said, this is against the law. This is against SCA policy. We're going to run this event. And we did. And we ran it flawlessly.
Right.
And then from that, we, now I'm all, that Elsie Hungrove, I just saw what you put up there. Hero. Now you got me all Twitter pated.
Just
yeah. I'm her not squire.
Oh, okay. Fair. Okay.
Yeah, I'm her not squire. Elsie helps me with a lot of this kind of stuff because a lot of times I can't really say what's going on in here, and she helps me get it out. But so when we saw this stuff happening, and I was frustrated that this stuff was happening to good people, because the people in the group I belong to, I keep saying my house, my black company and stuff like that. That's not what I'm saying. That they're not mine. It's what I belong to. And
it's claiming like this is my family, not you're the family, you're part of that family, right? Right.
And these guys do a ridiculous amount of work, and they're great people. And I don't want anybody to think that I'm the leader. I'm an elder of a tribe. We have 6 tribes.
Right.
And I'm an elder of 1 tribe. But when that happened, and we were able to finally show people that, look, we're here to play, but we're also here to help. We started mending those bridges between the hats and belts and our group.
Right.
And it took, honestly, 7 years, because there was so much bad blood. Right. At one point, we even had to go to different kingdoms to get authorized, because we couldn't even get authorized in our home kingdom.
Wow.
And and there was just other things that went on, and the perception was from their point of view. Their perception was we were a bunch of upstarts who were just stirring up stuff and causing problems and not helping at events. True. Not helping at events, just coming and bitching. True. They were right. And
you fixed that. You fixed that part of it, right?
Yeah, we had to. Because how can we sit here and be, we're oppressed, but we were doing the same thing.
Right.
Sometimes even worse.
Do you feel that? So basically, what I'm hearing is that there's sort of if we look at it as 2 groups, you have your insiders, your outsiders, right? It's almost like you guys with Black Company and sort of other groups like it have taken the Fringies and shifted to the left some. So you have the Fringies and you have the circle, the insides.
Right.
You guys sort of found that I'm going to touch both of these things. So you're.
And what happens if you keep shifting? Keep shifting.
Right.
What happens to the other hand? The other hand goes away.
You're right. Or you start realizing you bring them back. I think that may be the thing we're seeing with the SCA right now. Is the SCA starting to slide one way, and the Fringies are sliding the other, and eventually we're going to find some sort of cohesion between the two, right?
Yeah, and what it takes is somebody to step across that line. Step across that line and either say, enough, we're not taking this anymore. Or to step across and say, you don't know anything about what we're doing. You need to come over here and see what we're doing.
Right.
We had at last Great Western War, we had this pandemic has screwed up my time frame here. I think it was a couple of Great Western Wars ago. We even had a person who spent 60 hours with Psychiatrist in it. 60 hours at one event, put in that much time, because she was a med tech, and they needed it because there was some emergencies and stuff. But and that's just one small example of all the other things that that's why I'm trying to do whatever I can to throw a light on this stuff, because there's people out there who do a ridiculous amount of work, and they're considered Fringies.
Right.
That, and who spend, hours and hours at events. There's mercenary households that, like in Kaid, there's mercenary households that do all of the privies and all of the constable work for events. And there's other places. It's the same thing. They, and there are Fringies who do all the work.
Right.
And I think the whole separation thing, I think it started out with ego. I think that's the whole thing comes from ego.
Most separation does, frankly. Most social separation is ego based. Right.
And the hard part, like for me, is that I have a hard time trying to say what the hell I mean, and half the time I end up coming out with something completely stupid, or stirs a lot of shit. I even have to take my Facebook post and show them to my wife, like, hey, should I post this?
Trust me, my brain is sitting in the other room currently. There is a reason. I'm terrified that I get on YouTube and go live without her in my. It scares me a bit. But part of it, that's why I sort of give the disclaimer up front. These are my thoughts, and come at me afterwards. We'll talk about it. I may say something stupid. It's okay.
Yeah. So you're saying that, and you can be real on your show. Let's be real.
Exactly. This is, and it's I think having these real conversations is important, because even if we say something stupid or wrong, or I'm blatantly wrong about something, like I have actually on purpose said some inflammatory things just to just to have the conversation about it, because I want to bring that up. So when I was doing What Makes a Night, I was so it was a series I did with Duke Sean.
Yeah,
my job was very much to sit there and be the what you mean I need to be all I gotta do is be friends with the Knights to get a white belt? Cool, thanks. That was my job, was to ask those sort of stupid questions from this side of that, right? Now that's not my actual opinion, but that's the conversation we had. So
along that same thing is that, so here you got a lot of the times, and I don't care if it gets me in trouble or not, you got wannabe alphas on this side, you got wannabe alphas on this side. They are desperate to assert themselves within their group of peers, and regardless if they're a knight, a squire, a mercenary, or whatever, a laurel, a pelican, proteges, whatever, they have a perception that if they listen to what's going on over here, and they say, "Oh, well, that's how I have to act," and then to show how great they are to their peers, they act this way to the 10th degree. And that causes on both sides, because, I was the worst one about, for years, when I go out on the battlefield, I targeted knights. I'm a war dog. I'm a melee fighter. I'm a war dog. And that's who I went after, because I didn't have a household. I didn't have anything. So I would go after these knights. If I see somebody that I perceptually didn't like, that's who I went after, their household. And I'd fight them all day long, and I would hit them all day long, just because of that perception. And right before I was about ready to quit, because of all the douchebaggery stuff that was going on, whether it was me causing it or somebody else directing it towards me.
Right.
I was done. And then I ran into a knight who did something I had never, ever witnessed before. He stood against his own king and told this king, "You're wrong. You're wrong. This guy is right. And if you don't like it, then I'm going to remove myself for this event, and I'm going to go over there and I'm going to hang with this kid."
Right.
And I was, what?
See, and that's something that as a knight, as somebody like you or as a peer, you're considering something, you're thinking about that. You're like, that's part of that, to speak and to be silent, right? Yeah. There's some times where you just got to sort of salute and follow orders, but then there's also, you're supposed to give that counsel. That's part of that sort of contract between you and the crown, is that's sometimes you got to stand up and tell them they're wrong. And I think that's maybe missed a lot. So actually, let's get into that. So you're a peer of the society and a mercenary. Like what? Like so. I mean, I know you're as a master of arms, so you're a member of the chivalry. You're let me throw this out. I dislike the fact that we have masters of arms. I dislike that there's a separation. I think the whole idea of requiring fealty for knights is stupid. I wish we could get rid of it. So I consider you a knight.
I don't think we should get rid of it because there are so many knights out there that are really good people, and they're extremely passionate about what they're doing and their fealty.
Right.
The fealty is their foundation.
Your topic, though.
Yeah, and coming from a master, this is kind of the funny thing,
right?
Because I have a tremendous amount of respect for knights, and some I have a tremendous amount of respect for some, and even though a lot of the times that respect isn't returned because I'm a master and they don't like it.
Right.
I understand. That's fine. But the fealty is a foundation of their identity.
Right.
And so I would not want to get rid of somebody's passion or somebody's reason for doing what they do. I wouldn't want to do that.
Right.
So I
agree with you there. It's and I think and this is a topic for another show that I want to or some maybe you and I can talk about it offline. I want to get into it, but it's a
write it down.
it causes what I've already done a whole show with Sean on it, so it's like I have reasons. I have issues with it because it causes again a separation, and there's some issues from a DEI perspective too. Anywho, okay, so from a Fringy perspective, right? So you talked earlier about the legal sort of the seneschals, the marshals, the people doing the paperwork, right? Cool, yeah, sure. Let's get the business up so we can play. So you sort of separated the legal side and the play side.
Right.
Okay, so as a Fringy, as a mercenary, you'll do all the legal side all day long without any problems because that's just a hobby to make sure we can do our playtime. So on the playtime side, that's where your peerages come in, your baron and baronesses come in, all your royalty, the hats and belts, right?
Right.
How do you as a peer separate those or find your balance there to accept that title, accept that award, accept that sort of peer of the society, but also maintain the sort of the fuck the system mentality?
Well, it's not fuck the system.
Okay.
It's fuck the asshats.
Right.
So it's not the system.
Which is sometimes synonymous, but
Yeah, the SDA is what it is, and it's a fantastic organization. There's good people and there's bad people. So we help the good people, and now we just ignore the bad people because we can, right? Before we wouldn't ignore them.
Right.
We let them, get on our cases, and sometimes they would do it on purpose, and then we would act up, and then they go, see, right? So don't get me wrong. This has taken 10 years of Black Company, going through hell to finally realize that that we just do our own thing. Now, for me to be a peer, and people are like, "Oh, you're not a Fringy. You're not a Fringy. You're, you know everybody. Yeah, but how long did it take me to know everybody? 10, 20 years. And I'm a weaponized extrovert. Right. So if I'm at an event, yeah. Oh, hey, there you go. I'm the guy that people call when they have somebody that they want to talk to, but they don't know how.
Right.
Because I just go do it. So being a peer, I talked to my wife for a long time about it. It wasn't just, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that. No, it was a long conversation. And what it basically came down to was not only her, but other people that I talked to, was that I needed to do this to show that people can do their own thing, play their own game, and still be recognized for it.
Right.
There hasn't been a master in the West Kingdom in 29 years. And through a lot of different channels, I heard that there wasn't ever going to be another one. Right. And I've heard that in a lot of kingdoms. Oh, we'll never do that.
Meridius is one of them, unfortunately.
Well, and
Where-
yeah, and that can change.
Right.
It changed here in the West, and the reason that I think it's changing is because it took one person to stand up and say, hey, we need to consider this. We need to think about this. And then it took a whole bunch of other people to stand up and say, yeah, we need to do this, and we need to recognize this. And I think that's what happened with me. That was so far away from my wheelhouse, so far away from my radar, that it was, it was extremely, it was completely unexpected. And once it happened, I had to wait like a week to where I could even figure out whether I was going to do this or not. Right. I mean, and initially when I was offered, you have to say yes or no right then and there. You can't say, oh, well, I'm going to think about it. No, but I asked my lady, and she said, when I was offered entry into chivalry, my lady said, you're taking a Baldric. And I turned to the king and I said, I'm taking a Baldric. And the king's like, okay, great. No problem. I said, you're okay with that? He's like, yeah, we knew. So, and then afterwards, it wasn't until after my elevation and stuff like that the weight of that thing dropped on me. Because now there is this big old huge spotlight on me wherever I go, which means I have to absolutely represent that, not only my house, not only myself, but also the trust that was given to me for this elevation from that king, right, from that person.
And even more so than the knight made the next day, because as a master, you're sort of the exception at that point. So there's a larger spotlight on that because they're almost like expecting it to be a screw up because it's a different thing.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. So then now you're talking about, and then how do I still do that fringy thing, and still do if I'm going to be up here in the spotlight, then I'm going to take all these people behind me and put them in front of me,
right,
and get them in the spotlight. But I want to, like even before I got my Baldric, before any of that stuff, I would go to events and I would walk around the perimeter of events and find those people who are out there in their prairie pimple tents, drinking water and eating raviolis out of a can, and pick them up and say, okay, come with me, and take them to our camp,
right.
And that's what everyone should be doing,
right.
But there's a tendency to grab somebody and then just bury them with information,
right,
because it's people are excited, and because our numbers are down, and when people come in, people are grabbing them and then just piling all this stuff on them because their households are getting thin, and so they're wanting more people for
new shiny toy. Oh god, I got it.
Yeah, and but the problem what happens with that is that it happened actually around our area in the West is that people will see somebody's potential, but they'll see somebody else who doesn't have any potential in whatever area that they're looking at, that they excel at. So they'll ignore the person who doesn't have the potential they're looking for, right, and they'll focus on this other one, and they'll completely ignore the other people. And that happens a lot. And so those are the people that I pick up. I pick them up and say, hey, what do you guys do? When are you interested? And anybody who knows us knows one of our mantras is Black Company does not recruit. We're not allowed to recruit. We're not allowed to go to somebody and say, hey, you want to join Black Company? Come join us. We're not allowed to do that. We talk to people. We let them camp with us, have a great time, whatever. There's no requirements, no nothing other than the pitching in the camp. And that's it. Until they come to me and say, hey, how do I become a member of Black Company? We don't offer.
Right.
Which is completely different. We've had people who were in 2 weeks and people threw tabards on them made them members of the household, threw them on courts, and just buried them with stuff. And that all that does, it burns them out. It burns them out quick. You know,
it's like there's some benefit to including people in things like early on, like grabbing that new guy and letting him serve as retinue, or grabbing that new guy and hey man, come let's help me do this cool thing that you don't even understand what it is, but you're doing a cool thing and like it's a neat experience. Like there's some benefits to those things, but there's always a limit. Like there's always a limit defined of get them to do a little cool thing, but also let them just hang out and sort of take it in, right?
Right, and
that's a balance.
I had an interesting conversation with somebody that their area where they live, they don't have Fringies, right? And I'm like, what do you mean you don't have Fringies? You don't have people that are don't quite fit in, they're on the outside, they just kind of hang out, don't really do anything with the mainstream. They mainly are on the outskirts of events or parties or whatever. The people that hang outside the gate at a party and just kind of look in because they don't know anybody. They don't know how to
breach the threshold, essentially.
Yeah. Oh no, we don't have that. And I'm like,
but you do though. Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. Everyone does.
Yeah.
Unless they're not there. Why aren't they there? Because they've been run off. Right. And that's what's going on right now. That's why, like here in the West, for 10 years ago, there was a couple events that were party central for drumming, for belly dancing, big, huge caravanserai parties. And a select few decided they didn't like that. And so they got rid of it.
Right.
They would shut them down. They would, they would go, if they didn't play by the kingdom rules, they went after them. And now guess what? They're not there. We don't have them. We don't have those big drumming parties and the belly dancers and all that on all those things that the younger people want, that they want to come out and do that. They want to hang out. I don't know about you, but I don't mind watching belly dancers, and my wife loves watching belly dancers. Everybody likes listening to the drums. Going to sleep at night to drums is like,
it is the lullaby. Yeah.
Yeah. But
that's actually something recently that's come up in the sort of the recruitment and retention conversations that Baron Wistrick from Southdowns posted a big thing the other day, talking to some of the younger generation about what brought people in 10 years ago isn't working now, and we're not changing it. And also we've lost some of the things that sort of create those environments to make it welcoming or make it sort of fun. And
they changed what was bringing them in.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, you bring in you see some college kids walking by, and then all of a sudden they hear drums and belly dancers. Whoop, they come right back in, and they're like, "Oh wow, what is this?" But with not having that at night, just having, just sitting around your campfire talking, which is fun, but it's not the dynamic that a lot of these younger people wanted. What I wanted, what I still want. I still want to party. I still want to see belly dancers and drumming. I want to do drumming. I want to
play the stupid Squire games and pillow fighting and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, Hunkerhauser. Any of that stuff. And I don't know what it was, but that was a big, huge part of what causes Fringies, what causes the separation, because you have these self-righteous people that come over and they say, you can't do that, you need to stop that. Right. And we've had people come over and say, the prince or the king told me to come over and tell you to stop that. Right. And then have the prince come over and say, I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all.
They use it as a cudgel, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. And they stop a party. I've been to a ton of events where people have come in and said, oh, you can't do that or this or that or the other. Now, if it was a city ordinance or something for this event, and it's actually a city ordinance, hey, yeah, we got you. Sorry. Don't mean to. But there's other times when there isn't. And they're just people who just don't want you partying.
Right.
Doesn't want whether they don't want to. They're saying that they can't sleep at night, or whatever. And my thing is that if you go to an event thinking you're going to get sleep, you're going for the wrong reason. I don't want to sleep. That's a waste of bacon eating, beer drinking time.
Fair.
That's a waste of time.
Right.
So yeah, but that's what I'm talking about. It's a give and take thing from people who have perceived power to people who are receiving on the receiving end of that. Right. Then you have people who are resentful and do things that make the establishment mad, and then it's just a vicious cycle.
Right. Yeah, something I've noticed. So, cycling back to the idea of the sort of creating that welcoming environment, or sort of the too much too fast concept, right? So I think that's a big thing that creates the either early burnout or creates your Fringies. So something Meridia's has been doing, I think, a really great job of here in the last few years is they've been specifically looking at targeting newcomer things at events. So not just like having a class, but like they've actually created a whole newcomers camp. So we have like at big events we have the Kingdom camp like at Gulf Wars or whatever, but like they're actually at some of the larger like war events like Panhandle skirmishes or like Castle Wars. We have a welcome home committee that is literally a newcomers like committee for setting up a camp at an event. They'll bring extra tents and extra pavilions and extra stuff, and sort of they organize it so that people can come and hang out in that as newcomers. That are those would be the new Fringies, not the older Fringies, right? But also they welcome some of the older folks to come out and just hang out and welcome these new people. And they've set up classes and they've done like tours where they'll do like walking tours of the camp and introduce people and say, here's stuff, here's things you might want to know. Because that's the hard part for new people coming in is what is there, right? So I think that's something we've done well that helps alleviate some of that separation. Yeah.
Now, here in the West, they had a real push about it. Started a few years ago. Having the welcoming things. They put together these really cool little gift bags. They're a satchel that had a mug, had feast gear, had really cool beanies and all these different things just to welcome them. I wanted one. Right. They were really good. And they give them out to new people and at court and they hand them out at the we have a like Gold Key and the Chatelaines have a pavilion for people to come in and get introduced to everything and there's a group in Sinagua, in the Principality of Sinagua, called the Black Guard, and they're basically an open kind of household. Anybody that's new and doesn't have anywhere to camp at events, you can camp with Black Guard. You can fight with Black Guard if you want to. You don't have to. You can camp with them. They have an open kitchen or a camp kitchen where you can buy into kitchen, and they take care and they help with all the new people who come in. And that's started within the last 5 years. But I think I think we still have a separation. I still think that there's but that separation is slowly going away. Right. And I think it's because people they're realizing, looking at our numbers, they're realizing that our numbers are down, and then they're wanting to know why. But then they see all these fringy households that have 200 members, like Black Company. We have 200 members, and they have other households that have these huge amounts of numbers. Just my tribe, I have 30 people in my tribe, and they're like, man, how come they're blooming and everything over here is dropping off? I remember wars where there would be, thousands of people at events, thousands, and there'd be huge parties and just have a great time. And now I remember a long time ago, I went to a crown attorney here in the West. And it was a long time ago, like late 90s. And there wasn't camp space, right? Because there were so many people. And the parties were outrageous. I mean, it was just amazing. And now you go to events and they're, just a regular, typical event, and there's maybe 50 people.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to find the tent set up somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
And I think a lot of that is that that people were looking at the cost to fun ratio is what I call it. The cost of fun.
Yep.
And they weren't having fun, and they were spending a lot of money on what they were doing, and they were like, you know what, I can be doing LARP, I can be doing Wasteland Weekend, I can be doing HEMA, I could be EMP, I can be doing all these other things instead of going somewhere where I get treated like shit.
Right. Oh, yeah. If at some point the thing becomes not fun anymore, you should stop doing it. Right. And I'm saying this as someone who loves the SCA. If you don't love the SCA, stop. Go elsewhere. There are other groups that you will have more fun in, or fix it.
Fix it.
That's the other option. I guess I'm stubborn. I want to be the one to I'm always the fix it kind of guy.
I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm here. I could have quit a long time ago, but I'm freaking stubborn, and I'm not. Nobody's going to run me off of whatever I want to do. Right. That kind of thing. Which is why what these guys that night I was talking about, who was saying, don't let them run you off. Don't let them win. I have a warmer for my coffee, so I got a refill.
I just have one on my desk. It's
But
so let's so first of all, I want to step back and let's something you mentioned earlier. So one of your jobs as peer in the society is supporting the society and supporting others and bringing those people into the spotlight. And I think there is no better way to do that right now in this pandemic than starting a YouTube show, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second. So coming up soon on Kalbardr's Corner, actually, May 18th is Master Lash's fantastic Fringies and where to find them. So this will be the first of the series. Basically, the idea came up of we need to bring these people out, and right now in the ESCA we have a lot of peerage interviews, we have a lot of royal interviews. Nobody's looking at the common person. Nobody's looking at the Joe Everyday, right?
Yeah.
So sort of talk about that. Talk about what your sort of concept, what you're looking to get out of this.
Well, I didn't. To be honest with you, I just kind of got. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I got bored.
Yeah.
I got bored. Same guy, same people talking about same thing, and they're all the pretty people.
Right.
They're all the faces, all the famous people, and not that I don't mind that, because I watch it because I want to watch it, and Between Two Peers is freaking hysterical. I love it. But there are people who got those people there, who gave them the opportunity to be those people who aren't being talked about. There's people who sit gate at events for 12 hours at a time. There's people who put up the royal pavilions. There's people who set up all the battlefields. There's people who set up for the rapier, who bring all the archery targets, who spend 40, 50 hours preparing an event site for people to come there and be famous.
Right.
And those people need to be recognized, and they need to be represented, and they need. Yeah, we have ways of giving people awards and recognizing their contributions and stuff like that. But sometimes, if you're not in with the cool people, that recognition doesn't happen.
Right.
And that might not be the nicest thing to say, but it's true. And so I do the whole award, recommendation thing, religiously. But that's not enough. I don't think it's enough. I think they should do an event like once a year where all the chivalry, all the royalty, all of them do everything at the event, and all the regular people don't.
Right.
So that they can just not do all the things and have an event where they just have fun and party and do the things. And
So I'll say this from a Meridian's perspective, that's a lot of what actually already happens. We have the sort of the exact opposite problem. We end up having too many of our royals and peers doing work and not newer people. So I think there's a weird balance you have to maintain of getting the new people involved, or either the new people or the Fringies involved, while also the peers are involved, sort of to set the guidelines and sort of set the tone, I guess. So that's a weird balance. But yeah, I agree.
There's also burnout. Also burnout. I understand if there's, you got guys who have been knights for 30 years or whatever, and they've done it. They've done everything, and they're like, or there's pelicans that have been doing it everything for. Pelican, by the way, is my favorite peerage. By the way, they're up here. Pelicans are they're up here.
As a protege, I will agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely. They're the backbone of the SCA.
Right.
So the people that do these things, that need these helps, that need to do all the things, I just want them to be seen. So how, I couldn't think of any other way of doing it, especially during I call it the pandemic.
The pandemic.
It sucks. Especially during the pandemic, so I was talking to Leo one night. We were just kind of BSing, and I asked him, how do you do your show? How do you do the things that you do? And what about maybe doing something like this? And I was just joking, like doing a Steve Irwin show, thing where you go searching through the woods trying to find Fringies, and pull them into your household, or capture them and bring them to your menagerie, and we were kind of laughing about it and deciding what about, then Leo was like, well, you should do that. You should do that. There's a guy I know. Right. And I said, well, so I really started thinking about it, because I don't know how to do stuff like that. I don't know, like even this show, I was like pacing before we even started because I was nervous about it.
Hey, look, it's easy, right?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So anybody out there watching, you want to start a YouTube show? Let me know. This is not hard to do, folks. And I think we need more of this. We need more of these real conversations. We need more of the non-peers, the non-sort of regular folk out in the spotlight. I would love to have more of that. So if you have an idea for a show, let's talk.
So, that's the other thing is that, it's going to be controversial because I'm going to ask them to share the shit.
Right.
Share the stuff that people don't want to hear. The like in every social media medium out there, when somebody says this royal did this, there's an immediate defensive knee-jerk reaction of people jumping in and saying, oh, no.
Yeah.
Right. When we've had conversations on other mediums where, this person's doing this person, there was immediate jump up. Oh, no, that's not happening. Or bury it, get rid of it. And we can't do that.
Right.
We have to pull it out. We have to examine it, and we have to fix it. We can't just say, oh, no, that guy over there, did this bad thing. Now we got this bad press. Let's just bury it. No, we bring it up, and like the DEI have been doing, they've brought up stuff and said, bam, no, we're not doing that.
Yep.
It's not happening. And look what happened when the first real big thing happened. I call it the great unpleasantness about the symbols being worn.
Right.
And DEI was right. Absolutely right. And what happened? There was a big explosion of people defending that and defending a bunch, and it was a big mess. Right. And
I think Trimgate is the off the title, right, which I think is hilarious. But yeah. And we lost people because people saw that. They saw the acceptance of somebody who did it just to do it. Right.
And they saw the acceptance that it was okay. And they were like, I'm out. I'm not gonna be a member of something that supports that,
Right.
you know. And then later, the DEI and other people said, no, we're not going to take it. We're not going to allow this to happen. And they made a stand. And then that set the precedent for later on.
Yep.
And that's what we need to do. We need to drag this shit out in the open, drag out all the skeletons, say, this is what's happened. There's some stuff that's happened to friends of mine, to me, to other people, you know, other Fringies, that you would absolutely just draw open mouth,
right.
Unbelievably, just say, "Oh my God!"
I think we need to have those conversations, and I'm hoping,
and
part of what you're doing, and we'll bring those up. I think we want to look at the good and the bad in it, and I'm hoping you'll get to do that, because I'm looking forward to what you're bringing to the table on that. I really am.
Yeah, and these people that I want to bring up, like the Caspian Lash, he has to walk a fine line.
Right.
He is a mercenary in a kingdom that doesn't like mercenaries.
Right.
But he's doing it the right way because he is doing what I'm doing.
Right.
You know, like I call him Lash, the other white meat, because you know we're both Lashes. He's been in 2 years longer than I have. We've had, you know, he got his name later than I did, but so we've always had this war. We were actually, before the pandemic, we were going to do a dance off at Great Western War, you know, just to see who gets to keep the Lash for the year, you know,
nice.
Or whatever. But he does not only in the game, outside the game. He's a huge proponent of and fundraiser for autism and a bunch of other things. His son has autism. He's a Cub Scout leader, Boy Scout leader. You know, and it does all these other things. People aren't going to know this. They're not going to know what kind of person he is. You know, because he's just one of those Fringies. He's one of those people. You know, and they don't take the time to get to know him.
Well,
you know,
hopefully us and the 300 subscribers we have on YouTube will help fix some of that. It's only 300, but it's damn it, it's better than nothing, right? So, all right, so we've hit our just over an hour, and I have an empty cup. It is a very sad empty cup. So I think it's time to wrap it up. Let's do a little bit of business, and then we'll do some final thoughts here. All right, so coming up on Kalbardr's Corner, so we mentioned Fantastic Fringies. That's May 18th. That'll be 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Look that up. I'm looking forward to that show. Next Sunday, we'll be starting another new series. This is 2 new series this month called Consort Conversations. And this will be taking the time slot that Duke Sean and I are vacating. I'll be joined by Duchess Nisa, Duke Sean's wife, to talk about sort of the other half of being a knight and being a king, and sort of the good and the bad of being a consort. So I'm looking forward to being the sort of the straight guy in the room again and asking those stupid questions and getting her to sort of dig in.
Well, they're the ones that do all the work.
Yeah, it's like the power behind the throne. So
yeah,
we have a lot of great guests planned for that. A lot of folks that are going to bring some really good stuff to the thing, but also some really negative stuff. There's when we started having the conversation about consort conversations, some of the guests we invited in sort of to the initial group chat were like, "I hated being a consort. It was the worst thing ever, and here's why." And we're like, "Cool, we want to have that conversation. We want to talk about that."
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to doing that again for the very same reason. So, other than that, if you'd like to support us, everything we do here on Kalbardr's Corner, and also the 9 other channels, soon to be 11 other channels, we support. Look us up on Patreon, patreon.com/KK Productions. And I do want to apologize to all the patrons out there. Your second quarter rewards are coming. I swear they are. They're actually sitting on my desk, but the envelopes I had to mail them in were too damn small. So I had to order new ones to get them sent out. So your rewards are coming, I promise. But I will, hold on. Yes. So for our bishop level and above patrons, you do get a custom scroll.
Wow.
With a Lady Aruna, right? So there you go. Something with my new Kalbardr's Corner wax seal. So something cool to look forward to. You can find that on Patreon, patreon.com/KK Productions. Or if you want to just support us on a little level and get some cool stuff, search us on Redbubble, KK Productions. There may or may not be some sheets out there with do nightly things written on them. Just saying, it's a fun joke. Go look that up. And stickers and whatnot. Last but not least, Lash, you had a shout out you wanted to give to a Fringy merchant, right?
Oh yeah, we talked about Captain. We already talked about Captain Murphy.
Pull that up again. I understand.
Yeah, and the other one is Blackfire Alchemy. She does fantastic stuff. Does soaps and all other things. They're just amazing. You've got to try this stuff.
Yeah. And I think if you go to blackfirealchemy.com right now and sign up for the newsletter, there's like a 10% off your first order coupon out there. So go to that blackfirealchemy.com and sign up for the newsletter for that. So
and a shout out to your tattoo on your wrist, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's what you call it. So keep on fighting, folks. Don't stop. So. All right. With all that being said, Lash, I want to thank you for having this conversation. I want to thank you for sort of your service to the SCA, right? I know, as you mentioned, I think it's something that as mercenaries, you don't get thanked enough for the right way. So I want to thank you sort of on behalf of the Fringies. Thank you for what you're doing as a peer of the site. Thank you for what you're doing with the show you got coming up. I'm looking forward to what you're bringing to the table. And thanks for just hanging out with me for an hour. This has been a lot of fun.
I thank you for like doing all your shows so we can actually have some sanity.
I wouldn't call my shows sanity, but I'll take it as a compliment.
Compared to me, yeah, they're saying.
That's fair. Yeah. All right. And of course, thank you to all our viewers for watching and hanging out with us for this hour. Tune in next week and the rest of the weeks. Make sure to watch all the other shows we've got going on. There's a lot of stuff out there. Like, subscribe, follow, click all the buttons down below. I don't know YouTube stuff. One day I'll figure out where the buttons are down there. But just push them. We appreciate them. And we'll see you next week. This has been Lash and Cal in Kalbardr's Corner. Have a great day, everybody.